Welcome back to the Happy Hippie podcast. This is the show where we explore basically anything and everything that can add happiness and value to your life and help you on your self-discovery journey. So we go into different things from fitness and exercise to nutrition, supplements, talking about mindsets, talking a little bit about my journey, about other people's journeys, and all that good stuff. This week, I was originally going to do an episode on balancing blood sugar because I did an Instagram poll last week and that was one of the highest voted ones. I believe the other categories had to do with confidence, and then the episode that we did last week as well, like imposter syndrome in that category. So I put that up last week, had an idea to be filming more of like a fact-based nutrition kind of episode this week. But when it came down to sit down behind the mic, I just did not feel like it, because there was something else in my mind that I wanted to do. I woke up in the middle of the night a few nights ago, I don't know why, and wrote this down. Like, it was like a fever dream that I had, and I had like one eye open in my notes, and I wrote down a bunch of stuff, and then I had to go through it today because half of it was like gibberish, and I could put like XOXO at the end. Like, I don't know why I was signing it like Gossip Girl, but I like my note at 2 a.m. to myself, it was like so cryptic on this topic. And it's more of a free ball episode because I literally have this scary note that I wrote, and that's what I'm basing the episode off of. It's more just me talking into the mic about this topic, about a little bit about some things I learned this year that have to do with this topic, and I guess my advice, but also more of just like a storytelling flowy kind of episode. So I'm not going to have like bullet points exactly of giving you like health advice. That I think we'll do next week. So we'll dive into blood sugar and that topic next week. This episode is mostly about putting yourself first, being authentic, setting boundaries, and living the life you want. I don't know if, you know what, I do think, I was going to say, I don't know if those four things actually kind of like coincide with each other, but they do in a way. And instead of it just being like a boundaries episode or like an authenticity episode, like it all kind of weaves together. So I'm going to talk about some things that led me to being able to finally, like, I actually feel like I'm being like my authentic self these days. And there's some things that I was like scared to do and I'm doing them. And I'm also looking at things with that mindset of I'm really not that afraid to do these things anymore. That even about a year ago, like I even started this podcast about a year ago, I don't even know if I would be doing some of these things. So I'm going to tell you some stories, some advice, just maybe something that can pick at your brain a little bit, just about living the life you want, like how to actually live the way you want to live deep inside and eradicate those feelings of like unworthiness, which they don't always go away, but and the feelings of like you can't have the life you want and all these things, just stuff I've learned this past year. And again, I'm going to be basing it off this cryptic note I wrote at 2 a.m. in the middle of my dream. And it will be a little bit of a shorter episode because I just want to share my points, and then I also want to see if you guys have anything to say. So as usual, you can always reach out to me on Instagram. I didn't introduce myself actually, but my name is Amanda McCormack. I'm the host of the podcast. I am a registered yoga teacher, certified personal trainer, a certified nutrition coach. I'm also a women's coach. Oh my gosh, I'm doing my meditation my meditation certification. Actually, I'm gonna get 100 hours. I'm almost done with that, so that's another fun title to add on to it. But my Instagram is Happy Holistic Hippie, so feel free to send me a DM or go check out my content if you're following for the first time. Lots of good stuff on there about holistic health and just happiness basically. But yeah, I'd love to open up this conversation a little bit more there. So I just want to share some things that I wrote down about the topic of how to kind of break free, like shift your mindset a bit about living authentically, how I've done it, what stopped me, more importantly, like my hindrances and the things that made me like hold back and where I was holding back. Like I'm just going to share everything with y'all. So let's get into it. I've said it before on different episodes, but I feel like life is all about unlearning things. And when I was younger, I felt like I knew what I wanted 100%. And as you grow up, things can be people, situations, society, reinforcement in whatever way that may be. TV shows, literally people saying things to you, your parents, teachers, friends, reinforcing that either what you want is wrong or reinforcing what quote unquote is supposed to be done. And I feel like that was something that happened in life. That happens every day. Like it still happens, but it happens and it like takes you away from what you knew, but you don't actually go away from it. Like what you know is always inside of you, what you like, what you enjoy, who you are, that's always with you. But sometimes we get kind of clouded, and there's so many books on this topic. Like The Four Agreements is always a book I recommend, because it's all about how like we see the world through this like foggy mirror. Like the truth is there, it's always there, but there's a little bit of a fog on the mirror, and it's because of like other people's perceptions and other people's things. Not to be angry at the world and other people, but it's cool because I feel like the biggest thing in life is just unlearning stuff and uncovering things that you already had and you already knew. Like it's always been there. So I feel like from a young age, I always knew what I liked, I always knew what I enjoyed. And I never went after some of the things because they weren't the quote unquote norm, or it was pushed down because people were like, that's wrong, that's not good, like you're not good at that, this isn't good. And this isn't just like my own experience. I know this is like every TV show too, but this is like a common human experience. And I feel like I ended up finding from middle school to college, maybe even like a little after college, but I always found it hard to be like my true self, because I feel like I didn't know this. Like this wasn't like I would wake up every morning and I'm like, here I go, battling for my true self. But like it was subconsciously, like I didn't know it was hidden that I was doing things, and I was doing things for all the unconscious reasons, you know, like either like I wanted to fit in, or I thought this was the way I had to do work, or this is the way I had to show up or look, or there's no other way to do this, or I'm not good enough, I need to kind of strive for XYZ. But in reality, like what I really enjoyed was just kind of squished down over time and growing up and learning in school. And I found I always did struggle a little bit with being authentic. Like sometimes it came, like there's some ways where it's cool when you look at people, you can see people shine in areas that they're kind of passionate about. So I feel like whenever I would find like those creative alleyways or something that I was like, something I enjoyed, you could see it like worked with me, if that makes sense. And you could see it with other people. Like when I see people who are dancers like in their element, like I'm like, damn, like that's that's their element. Like you can pin it when you see people. And I feel like there were some things throughout my life that like you were able to see. That's where I kind of like, I'll say excelled at. For a second I was trying to try and like down myself and be like, no. But like when I was younger, like artistic projects were always things I was good at. And again, that's like up for interpretation, but I mean like that's where like I would like shine. Like I felt like I was happy. Other people would be happy when they would see my art, or like I'd get good reactions out of it, but they made me feel good. It wasn't like total conditioning or anything like that, you know? Like so artistic endeavors were always like that. Sometimes like my fashion sense, the more I leaned into being like something that I truly enjoyed and wasn't like totally in, I would get like cool comments, like reinforcement that like, hey, maybe it is kind of cool to lean into that side of things. So throughout life, I can see like little pockets coming up where the things that you know, like the things that you're drawn to naturally, they're always showing you like who you really are, you know? But I felt around middle school was when I started to get like conditioned a bit by like what I was supposed to look like and be, and who I was supposed to do, like act and all that stuff. So a lot of like my clothing and stuff like that changed. So I'm just trying to think back on like, you know, what was the root cause of like me trying to be somebody. I wasn't trying to be somebody else, but I just never fully 100% as I was going through like my teenage years into college, like let myself totally be me. Like I thought I didn't care about what people thought, and I didn't to a certain extent, and I was still myself in a certain way. Like I don't think I held back all the way, but sometimes I did. A lot of the times, I've mentioned a million times on this podcast, but like I stopped speaking up with a lot of things, and I feel like that was a theme that definitely followed me as I got older, due to like whenever I would speak up in school, like I got kind of hushed because I was like annoying to teachers. So like that always came up, and I stopped like being expressive, and I ended up becoming like a hermit when I was in high school. And like I found it really hard to speak up even when I was like 20, like in school, like I couldn't even raise my hand. So that was something, like finding my voice, and like I always thought it was my throat chakra. And even when I went to my yoga teacher training, one of the teachers was like this chakra dude, and he would like come and do a one-on-one with you, and like he would like he would go through your chakras and like find where the blockages were and stuff. And I told him kind of what I'm telling you now. I'm like, I've always had trouble like speaking up, or like I've always wanted to like take action on things, and I always find I'm holding myself back in some way. I'm not like truly 100% doing what I want to do because I'm like holding back, and I find it hard, and I feel like I can't speak my truth. So I always thought like speak my truth was my issue. And he looked at me and he said it was actually my solar plexus. And I remember being like low-key offended because I was like, man, like I'm confident. And like I think there's a difference in the types of confidences that I thought I had, or confidence when you're growing up. Like the words are always misused. So confident, you just think it's somebody who's like into themselves and like they can like show themselves off and stuff, is like what I thought when I was like 10. So in my head I was like, no, like I'm confident in how I look and all this stuff, but I wasn't in a way, and I wasn't confident in like my endeavors. I always felt like I needed more. I feel like that's my thing, is like I always felt like I needed more from the world to do something. So before I was ready to take a leap, kind of like last week's episode when we were talking about imposter syndrome and confidence, I always felt like, oh, when I have this, then I can do that. Or like, I need to have this many followers before I can start talking about this topic because like blah, blah, blah. Or I need to get this certification before I can do this. Or I need to be able to lift 100 pounds before I can tell somebody how to squat. Like those are the types of things I would always tell myself. And even like jobs, I'm like, oh, I can't apply for that job until I have like 2 years under my belt. Like I'd always want more and more. Like I always felt like I needed. And it's like having a lack of confidence in your abilities now. And I feel like that was always my undergoing issue, is that I felt like I needed something else. So I'm like, all right, well, once I have this type of outfit, then I can do that. And like you see that type of paradox, I think, with a lot of people. And maybe you can take a moment to reflect on if you have that, where like you feel like you need more and more and more before you can do something. So that's where my confidence issues, I think, stemmed from. Besides also like being a woman, like that whole thing. I felt like throughout life, like that was always an issue when it came to like image and like what a woman's supposed to be and look like and stuff like that. To this day, it's still fed to me and every other woman ever. So that was always something. It's a never going game to work through. And I feel like I did get to do that finally the past few years, like diving into that. But when I say confidence, it was more of a confidence in like, I didn't have the confidence to like jump and do what I totally wanted to do. And I felt like I had to keep myself either in a lane or learning from other people. Like the idea of working your way up to stuff, like I never felt like I was truly ready to do anything. I always felt like I needed more. I needed this. Like I finally got my degree. No, now I need to do an internship. Oh, I finally got this. No, now I need to put like 2 years in the field. Oh, I finally have this. Like it just kept happening. And I felt like it didn't keep happening, but my mind just kept seeing that, because you only perceive what either like you're familiar with or what you just hear. So like I was seeing through the lens of like, I need more. And when you need more, you're never going to have enough, and you're never going to like take a leap. So I feel like I always held myself back, but it was actually coming from a place of like, I wasn't confident enough to just do the thing and put myself out there, because putting yourself out in the world as like an experiment in a way, or like you don't have any validation to back you up on it, or you're just going out on a limb and it's like, it's vulnerable. Like you're out there, you know, whatever it may be. This may be a super small thing. Like maybe you've never like, I don't even know. I don't have an example, but like the idea of just not doing something because you don't think you're ready, or like it's not for you right now, or like you haven't practiced in years, or this or that. But I was like holding myself back on so many things. And because of that, I feel like I just never really explored the path of stuff I wanted to truly do. For me, even though like I always told myself I didn't care, and I still think to an extent I didn't, but I always was kind of concerned with at least a certain small group of people would think of me. Like on a big mass scale, I always said that too, like in terms of like speaking. Like I went to school and I got my master's in doing like pitch competitions. Basically, like I did innovation in entrepreneurship, so I did a lot of pitch competitions, and I never cared when it was people I didn't know. Like I really didn't care. And that's always been something, I guess, on my end, that I was a little bit like, I realized that pattern. But like you can throw me in front of a big audience and I would like perform, and I've always loved to perform since I was a kid, and that's always something like I never went into, but I loved like comedy and like acting and all of that, and all like creative endeavors. And like I went to like, I was a Girl Scout, and I went to a lot of different like camps and seminar things where we would do skits. Like skits in the Girl Scouts were so big. Like they would make you memorize a script and then get up and perform it. And whenever it was people I didn't know, man, like I loved the limelight. Like I would get up there. My mom sent me to clown college, which was like a program. It was like a 3-day like sleepaway program where I literally was a clown. Like I trained to be a clown, and then we did a big performance at the end. Yeah, that's very fitting for my lore, I think. But my mom sent me to clown camp, and we had to pick a name too. Guess what my name was? I'm not going to say it. I'll bring it back in another episode, but just ponder on it. I had to name myself as a clown. I ate that stuff up. And like all the Girl Scout events, like I would always sign up for the skits and like get up there and just like deliver the comedy lines and stuff. I loved it. And I didn't care because I didn't know anybody. If I knew anybody, it was my mom. Like I didn't care. But then when it came down to like getting up in front of a class or something, people I knew, like I would get more nervous. Like it was performing in front of like 5 people that I know. It'd be weirder for me than it would be a big audience, which is literally what I noticed on Instagram with myself too. Like I found it so hard. I've broken through it a little bit, but I found it so hard to post on my personal Instagram for the longest time because I felt like I was being watched by like people I knew. And like I don't think anyone gives a fuck. Like the reality of it is like nobody cares, but there's that part of my brain where it's like the smaller group of people is who I cared about. Like I cared about being perceived by a smaller group of people. Honestly, in the past, it was like when I liked a guy or something like that and I knew they were watching me, like I wanted to look, like present myself in a certain way. I don't even know. Like, but it was a pattern. But when it comes to strangers, I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, that's always so much easier for me to post on like TikTok and stuff. And then people I know in real life started following me on TikTok and I started like holding back again. And I was like, what is this pattern, girl? Like, we got to get into therapy about this one because, but I've always noticed like that was my thing is like, I would always hold back when there was like a group of people that were following me or like I knew them or like I would see them and the pitch competitions I would do. I remember being like judges that were like, they worked for Google and they were like big CEOs and stuff. Like I didn't care. And then there was like a pitch competition where I knew like 2 people in the audience and I'd be like, oh my God. I'd be like shaky. I'd be like, okay. So like, I just noticed like whenever it was people I kind of knew, they knew about me or like I already had like an image to kind of quote unquote like live up to or stay with, like that's when I would hold myself back and like it wasn't really me. It's a cool, like I would build this like cool version of me for them to see, but it wasn't like really me. Like I didn't not give a fuck about messing up. Like I would care, you know? So I noticed like I wasn't being really authentic. I wasn't being my true self. And what I mean by true self is literally just being able to express yourself, say what you want, do what you want, wear what you want, everything without caring or holding back because of somebody else or a party of somebody or a group of something or an identity or a title. That's what I think authentic self is. It's not restricting yourself in a way because you're a college student, so you're supposed to be behaving this way, or you work for this place, so you're not supposed to like do this or that, or you give yourself titles, which if you want to read A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, it goes a lot into it. I feel like maybe I should reread it on this after talking about this topic, but we identify ourselves as things. Nobody identifies you as anything. Like you're the one giving yourself the title. We're the ones that like put our own selves in boxes, which is like a weird thing to think about sometimes. So maybe you can take time to think about like where you keep yourself in a box or like where you play small, because we all do it. And even though like I grow and you grow, I find sometimes there's always areas that I can like, I like to call it a self-audit. Like I just check back into myself and I'm like, wait, that area needs a little attention. So my next point that kind of ties into this, now that we are talking about like having awareness of where we hold ourselves back, sometimes we think like things aren't really working out for us, but actually we might be morphing ourselves to fit a certain mold of something that isn't totally you. And I'm not saying like you're lying or deceiving to the world. Like this can be on so many scales, like 1 to 10 on different areas in your life, which is cool to be mindful and like take a step back and be like, all right, what's going on here and here? But again, like we could be, I don't know, like sometimes you feel like something's not working. Like I spent the longest time applying to like these marketing jobs in the city and I never got them. And I remember spending so much time and effort and I was so frustrated and I would put like my worth into the fact that these people weren't hiring me. But then later on I found out like in life, like that's not what I was supposed to be doing in a way, or like I probably wouldn't have been happy if I went that route, or like I don't know, I was basing my worth on something that wasn't me, you know? Like that wasn't what I wanted to do. I was just doing it because I thought I had to. Like everyone around me was applying for those types of jobs. When I went to my personal training job, like I would be like, oh yeah, I'm applying for marketing things in the city, like this and this. And like at that time, I thought that's like what I had to do. Like, I didn't think there was any other way. But in reality, I was like forcing myself to not even, I was turning a blind eye to all these other opportunities and ways of living that like were more aligned with myself. And I kept beating myself up and thinking the world was unfair because like I was not getting what I wanted in a sense, or like stuff wasn't working out for me. And then you victimize yourself. And reality, I just wasn't aligned with that, like that's not who I am. And because that's not who I am, it was like putting a puzzle piece that doesn't fit into a big puzzle. Like I was trying to fit into this puzzle. Meanwhile, all I had to do was like lift that piece up and put it in a different puzzle and it fit perfectly. So there's nothing wrong with you. I just think sometimes it's like we're so blind to other things in our lives because we're trying so hard to go down a certain path, or we almost have like, it's like a resistance, like law of attraction kind of thing. Like when you're pushing so hard for something, like you're going to break it, but it's not, it could also just be not aligned with you in a sense. And I feel like when you're out of alignment, that's actually when things start not working out. And then you start spiraling pretty much, like what was me and all these things. And sometimes I feel like if you're feeling like that in life, maybe stepping back and going through like what you enjoy and like, is what you're doing actually what you want to do? Or maybe it's a cool way you can pivot and take a different type of path. And this can even go down to a smaller level. I'm not talking about just like changing your career path or like picking your life up and running away somewhere. If you're thinking that though, maybe that's true, but that's not exactly where I'm going. This could even be like a relationship type situation where maybe you're playing small because you don't know what else is out there and that scares you more secretly, or you're trying so hard to fit a certain person's mold, or it could be like a friendship type relationship, like your group of friends, you're trying really hard to like stay in with that group. And again, these can be all very unconscious things that we're doing, but if you feel like maybe you're not enjoying the activities you're doing or what you do on the weekends and things like that, like maybe stepping back again and just trying to like discover yourself more. I put up a reel the other day of like 5 journal quotes that are really good. I'm gonna stalk my own Instagram now, but they were quotes on like discovering yourself and kind of re-asking yourself like, what do you enjoy, to find where these passions are, or find maybe where you're holding back in a sense. I'll like read 2 or 3 of them because there's a whole reel on it if you want to check it out on my page. But for example, one of the things is like, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? Like, and if you start writing that down, that's like one of my favorite things to do, because I'll start writing down all this stuff. Like, okay, let me just think flat out. I'd be like, well, I would be doing this, I'd be doing that, this and this. And then you start to notice, oh my God, like, why am I not doing any of that stuff? And then you realize it's because of your fear of failure in a sense. And a lot of it won't come up. Like, I'm serious. Until you get that pen on the paper, you may think of 1 or 2 things in your head right now, but until you get that pen on the paper, I'm telling you, like, stuff will come up. For me, I think doing, this sounds so small, but it's not. Doing like TikTok voiceovers about a year ago, I think I asked myself that question, and I'd be like, well, I would like film myself like a day in a life. Like I would like put the camera up in places because I was afraid to film myself like in the gym and stuff. And once I answered that question, I was like, wow, I'm afraid that I'm going to put videos up and they're not going to be like successful, or like I'm going to film myself and the quality is not going to be good. And I was like, it's keeping me from even doing it. And it's weird because like that's the type of stuff that like I do almost for a living now, but I couldn't get myself to do it because of fear. Another question that's similar is like, what would you do if you knew nobody would judge you? And it would be like, I don't know, like I remember writing stuff down and it was really similar. I'd be like, I would be filming myself everywhere. I could talk to like I can do like, do you know like the tube girl trend? Not that that's like my life goal, but like stuff like that. I feel like in the past I was afraid. I was like, I would never like whip out my phone or like take a selfie here or like ask a person this and that. And these are really small things, but is it like I couldn't get myself to do that type of stuff because of it pulls out where your fears are involving other people and other groups and things that are actually shrinking you down. Like you're shrinking yourself to fit into the mold of these people that literally like everyone's in their own brain, like everyone's doing their own thing forever. They're always going to be seeing life out of their own lens, but a lot of the time we change our entire life for these people who aren't even concerned with what you're doing, truly. Not in a mean way or a bad way, but truly like everyone's always focused on themselves. That's always something you see it in the gym too, when you feel like that self-consciousness about other people. Like truly most people are literally just there weaved up in their own stories with their own things going on, and like you walk by them for 1 second, like they're not going to pay attention to you, or if they do, like they have so many other things they're going to start thinking of the second you walk by. And we literally almost base our life and like condense ourselves in what we do because of like the people around us. But it's kind of cool. It's like people are just like playing video games. Like they're playing video games and they're so concentrated in their own avatar, and you guys are just like passing each other, but they're in their own video game and you're in your own video game, but you guys are just like slowly passing each other for like a second or two in time, whether that be you go to school with them for like a year or two, or like you just go to the same restaurant as them. I don't know, but you're never like, we always hold ourselves back because of other people. Meanwhile, other people are really concerned with themselves, and it's a weird topic to grasp, but I swear, what would you do if you knew you could not fail? Or what would you do if you knew nobody would judge you? Try to ponder, get a little inquisitive on those ones as your homework, because they will change you, because you'll actually see, damn, I'm literally not doing this and that because of this, or this is the person that's actually holding me back, or my parents actually put this weird belief in me. And you deserve to like live a life that's for you. I like to jump forward like 60 years, and I'm like, is this what I would want to be doing? Like, I don't want to look back in 60 years and be like, I literally held back on all these departments. Like, I never went to like this audition. I never put myself out there. I never visited this place. I never even applied for that job. I don't want to sit there and have to go through that list. Yeah, I have gone through like a list like that already in my life, which is cool because now I know what I want. You can't always change the past. You're supposed to dwell on the past. That's not what I'm trying to get across here. But the cool thing is I don't want to keep living like that, or I decided to stop living like that a little while ago, and I'm happier in a way. That's like when they say the name of a TV show in the show, I'm like, I'm happier, tying it back to the Happy Hippie podcast. But it's definitely true that we hold ourselves back, that I don't know, I just don't want to like be living with like super regrets. Sometimes people say that in movies and then they like jump out of an airplane. Like, it doesn't have to be that intense, but I don't want to have to live a life where like I missed out on a chapter or an opportunity to do something because of somebody else, or because of these thoughts that other people put in my head. And my dad told me this thing one time about driving cars that kind of relates to this in a sense. He told me, don't let people behind you who are beeping you when you're making a left-hand turn like force you to make the turn. Like, if you're truly not ready, like wait, like don't go because some asshole's beeping you. Because if you get hit by a car making that turn because you went because someone was beeping you, they're just going to drive around you. Like, they're just going to keep going. They don't give a fuck. They're never going to see you again. And now you have all this stuff. You're in an accident. You have your car to take care of. You're hurt. All this. That's kind of like the same thing that we're talking about here, where don't let other people, even though it can take long to unlearn it, but don't let other people put these things in your head or keep you in a box for you to change your entire life because of other people's perceptions of you, or other people's judgments, or things you learned on TV, or things your parents in school taught you, when those people are just going to keep going by you and doing their own thing. They're always going to be in their own world, their own video game. But you have the choice to make that left-hand turn when you're ready, or just like be like, and go and end up changing what you wanted to do because of somebody else. And that's not a way to live, you know? Like, again, you deserve to live a life that's for you. Like, I don't want to live a life where I'm holding back. And there's still some areas where I feel I'm holding back. So I'm working on this right now. So I think that's why this came up at 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, woke me up like a vampire. Like, I just rose up and I was like, I need to write this down. It couldn't have been anything cooler. It was this. But yeah, you know, like, I'm still working through this type of thing. I've worked through it with a lot of stuff for sure. And it's changed my life, and I'm still doing it. But I just wanted to share it because I think it's so true that we hold ourselves back a lot because of other people. And like, we need to stop that, because this is literally your life. And a lot of the time, like I said, flashing forward like 60 years will make me be like, oh, damn, true, I should take this chance, or I should do this. And then recapping, like, questions to ask yourself is like, again, if something's not aligning with you, or you feel like you're stuck or resisting or going against the river, like everything's coming really hard for you, and you're getting frustrated, you need to ask yourself if you're being like holistically you, like if you're truly whole, like all of your heart is in this, or you're doing what you really want to do, because maybe it'll be easier just to go down a different river, you know, like you're pushing down a river that it's not aligned with you in a sense, you know. Ask yourself, are you doing what the pack is doing? Are you caring about how you be perceived by other people? Are you concerned about maybe an inner belief that's been stopping you this entire time? And I don't know, like, I'm tired of playing small with things, and I've been slowly like crawling out of that hole, and I just want to pass that on to you, because maybe you are too. Maybe you have an experience like this. Like, truly, I would love to hear from anybody, everybody. Happy Holistic Hippie is my Instagram. Please let me know. I definitely want to make a post about it. You can open up a discussion in the comments. You can DM me. I don't know. We can make another episode about this type of thing, but it's so cool that we have the choice to do these things. Like, and if you fail or you don't like it, you can always just go back to what you were doing. Like, that's the other cool thing. Everybody, when I first started working at KMAC in Hawaii, like, people would come out there and they'd be like, yeah, I've never done anything like this before. And I would always say it to them, and like, people would reiterate it to me. And it's like, if I don't like it, I could just go home. They're like, yeah, I signed up for 2 months to be out here, but if I don't like it, I can just go home. That's what I did when I got out there. Day one, I actually wanted to leave, and I was like, you know what? I can always leave. I booked a one-way flight, and I was like, I can always just book a flight home. You can always return to other things, you know? Like, you're never stuck. You're never ever stuck. This is your life. You deserve to live a life that you want to live, or at least try. Wouldn't it be cool to say you tried, like, you attempted at it? That's all you have to do. You'll never know unless you literally do it. Unless you try it. And maybe it sucks. Maybe you'll hate it, but you literally won't know until you, like, dip your toe in. Okay, that is it from me. I'm going to leave you on this note. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we will chat soon. See you next Monday.